Hello and welcome to Tournament Day. We talked about it in our most recent podcast, but we're doing a tournament, and the first tournament is going to be Marvel Heroes and DC Heroes. Anybody who's a comic book fan has always thought, who would win in a fight? Batman versus Iron Man, or Superman versus Hulk, or anything like that. And they've addressed some of them in some of the crossovers, but today we're doing a 64 team or 64 person tournament. Single elimination, everybody got a rating 1 through 16, 1 through 16, 1 through 16, 1 through 16. So we've got 4 brackets. I will be doing 2 brackets, and Josh will be doing 2 brackets. I have the higher seeded Marvel characters versus the lower seeded DC characters. He will have the higher DC characters versus the lower Marvel characters. It's pretty interesting how it came out as far as, who's fighting who. But today I'm going to take zone number 1, and I'm going to give you the winners of the first round matchups. So here is a little picture of the zone 1 matchup. So we're going from here up. All right, so the first matchup, number 1 versus 16, Wanda versus Huntress, Wanda or Scarlet Witch. And once again, we are placing them inside of a fighting arena. About the size of a basketball court. So, this goes back to one of the struggles I have with Marvel. I think they make way too many overpowered characters, and I think Wanda wins this pretty easily. So, the next matchup is actually my first upset, and it's not too much of an upset, but it's the 8 seed versus 9 seed. So, 8, which is Storm, and 9 versus Atom. Now, Storm is an Omega level mutant, but if we're fighting indoors, I see Captain Atom or Atom taking that, pretty convincingly. So the next one, we have the number 5 seed Thor versus number 12 seed Signal. Signal's a good character, but at the end of the day, it's God Thunder, and I know that he's inside, but he still has Mjolnir and still has the power, so I think Thor takes that one. Once again, another sign of Marvel just being Marvel and making everybody super powerful. We've got the number 4 seed, Sentry, versus number 13 seed, Batgirl. I'm a huge Batman fan. I love everybody, all the Batman family. I call it the family tree. Nightwing, Batgirl, Jason Todd, Red Hood. But let's be honest, anybody who's not familiar with the Sentry is literally Marvel's version of Superman. His only weakness being anxiety caused from large groups of people. So, got to give the nod to Sentry. I mean, he's just way too overpowered in that fight. This was another hard one to swallow. So we've got the number 3 seed Vulcan versus the number 14 seed Red Hood. So, anybody who's not familiar with Vulcan, Vulcan is the 3rd Summers brother. He came in Deadly Genesis number 1, and that was after the events that happened with House of M. So, and he is an Omega level mutant, way overpowered. I love him as a character though, because sometimes he can be good, sometimes he can be bad. He's like what you wanted Cyclops to be, in my opinion. I always thought Cyclops kind of held back. And Red Hood, man, can't say enough about Jason Todd. He's definitely up there with Nightwing as two of my more favorite Batman characters that aren't Batman. But end of the day, 1-on-1, Vulcan takes it. So up next, the number 6 seed Captain Marvel versus the number 11 seed Blue Beetle. Pretty straightforward. It's just a common thread. Captain Marvel's a 6 seed, but do you see her more powerful than any of the characters that are above her in this bracket? I don't. Captain Marvel takes that pretty easily. This one, the 7-10 seed is actually the fight that I would love to see in this first round, and that is the number 7 seed Spider-Man versus the number 10 seed Green Arrow. That would be a really cool fight, because Arrow is strategically smart, and he's very vicious. Spider-Man, I know people are going to say, well, how'd you give him a 7 seed? Once again, man, Spider-Man is... I don't like Spider-Man, but I did this objectively, and I don't see him more powerful than Miss Marvel, Vulcan, Sentry, Thor, Wanda, and our number 2 seed, which I'm about to get to. That being said, man, Spidey wins that pretty convincingly. I think it would be a good fight, though. I really do. But I think Spider-Man takes that. And then finally, our number 2 seed, which is the Hulk versus Amethyst. This one and Wanda were probably my 2 easiest selections on who would win. Hulk is the number 2 seed. Amethyst is number 15. I think Hulk would just destroy Amethyst. So, Zone 1. Round 1 is complete. Let me tell you, there's going to be some really good fights in Round 2, though. And this is where it starts getting good. So, the Round 1s are going to be kind of because it's obvious most of the time. Although there are going to be some zingers in there. But it's pretty obvious the higher seed will beat the lower seed. But there are some weird battles that we came up with that just happen to work in the favor of the lower seed. And you'll see that later. But Zone 1. So here's Zone 1. Here's where we have for Zone 1. And then the Round 2 matchup. So we've got Wanda versus Adam. We've got Thor versus Sentry. Man, did anybody see, if you haven't read it, you need to read it. The Incredible Hulk, World War Hulk, Sentry and the Hulk going back and forth basically to a standstill. I think that's going to happen with Thor and Sentry. That's going to be a hard one to pick. Vulcan versus Captain Marvel. Once again, another great battle between 2 powerhouses. And Spidey versus Hulk. Man, that's going to be a good fight too. So, Zone 1, first round, done. So here are your winners. Josh will be coming out with probably Zone 2. And here's a preview of Zone 2. So here's a list of Zone 2. We got Flash at number 1. See, we got Wonder Woman at number 2. So make sure you catch Josh's video, which will come out hopefully this week, where he goes through his first round of Zone 2. Make sure you catch next week. I will be going through Zone 3, Round 1, where I've got Phoenix as the 1 seed. And, man, my favorite character on this whole thing that I still couldn't give a 1 seed to because it's Phoenix and because it's Wanda, Franklin Richards. I love Franklin Richards. Anybody who's not familiar with Franklin Richards, man, go read up on him. It's going to be tough for me, you know, once he starts getting up there to see who would win in certain fights. So, Round 1 is in the books. DC versus Marvel superheroes. Make sure you tune into Josh's video this week. Make sure you tune in next week for my next selections. If you like what you see, if you like what you hear, make sure that you like and subscribe. Thank you.